I'm starting to feel more nostalgic at 61 years old, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure it's because I've lived more of my life than I'm going to live, so I've lived more. I don't know if that makes me more nostalgic or not, but I've been thinking a lot about the Reds in my childhood. I grew up, I was born in 1964 in Chicago, and then my pops moved our family here in the early 70s. So I was lucky enough to be in Cincinnati, Ohio during the era of the Big Red Machine. Man, that was an amazing time. So in 1974, when the Big Red Machine was starting to formulate, 74 was a big time, but 75, 76 when we won those 2 World Series. But I was a baseball player. And, I was 11 years old playing Little League Baseball where I grew up in Greenhills, Ohio. So the Reds were important. I can remember a few things about that. Number one, the players. Like, I grew up in Greenhills, so if you live in Cincinnati, a lot of the Reds players lived over in Forest Park. Like, that was the nice housing in those days. So you could see Joe Morgan over there, Bobby Tolan, a lot of the different Reds players were there. But for me, the Reds, when opening day came, you never had to go to school. It wasn't a holiday, but if you weren't in school, it was okay. I can remember the Big Red Machine, and man, how cool was it? Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Dave Concepcion, George Foster, Ken Griffey Jr., and Cesar Geronimo. So I remember that a lot. And I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a lot of houses tight. Let's roll that video if you wanted to know my neighborhood. I grew up in a neighborhood. Like, see, look, there's my house that I grew up in. I'm not going to say the address because I don't want any weirdos going to find them. But this is where I grew up. Now, in those days, there weren't modern cars like this. There was a bunch of other different kinds of cars. But if you look at those windows, everybody who lived in the neighborhood, nobody had air conditioning. So all the windows were open in all these houses. And I was out there with a lot less cars on my bare feet. That's where I grew up. I was always hanging out. Everyone was outside in the summer, right? And the key to that was that nobody had air conditioning. There was nothing else to do on the radio. So we only had AM radio. We had Marty and Joe. Marty and Joe on the radio was what everyone in Cincinnati did, Marty and Joe. So I would be out there in my neighborhood. Yeah, there's Marty and Joe. I'd be out there in my neighborhood, and this is what I always remember. No matter where you were in the neighborhood, if the Reds were on, you could hear the game. Just peep by the windows open. It's summer. Everyone, if, like, I can remember my mom being in the kitchen, we could hear the game way down in the living room because that was what you did, man. You listened to the radio. And that was an amazing time. I remember, I have a lot of different opening day memories. I've played music at a couple times, and one memory, I don't want to dwell on it today, but I was at the game on April 1st, 1990, when John McSherry, the umpire, had a heart attack and died. I decided we weren't going to talk about that today. The game that I remember that my mom took me to was in 1974. The Reds were playing the Braves, and the Braves were. It's still a rivalry to this day. But the Reds were playing the Braves. My mom got us 2 opening day tickets. The big thing about that was that Hank Aaron was sitting on home run number 713. So he had 713 home runs. He needed 714 to tie Babe Ruth's home run record. So the Braves came to town. My mom took me to the game. Now hold on, twin. I'm going to show you. I want you guys to see. Like, can you see that video up there now? Can you put up just a picture without playing the video? Is that possible? See that pic? I was sitting, like, if you look at Hank Aaron, twins, if you look at Hank Aaron, if you drew a little arrow off the back of his jersey, I was up there in the third base side. And if you've ever been to the Reds games, I was over in the green seats, third base side, behind Hank Aaron. And this was a huge moment in Cincinnati history. Not as big as 41-92 for Pete Rose. But this was pretty cool. Let's roll this, twin. Let me show you my sportscasting skills. That's Jack Billingham on the mound. Billingham pitches. Hank Aaron hits it deep to left field. It's going. It is gone. Hank Aaron has hit home run number 714 in Riverfront Stadium. Look, even the people, everyone thought that was great, right? Look at that. It doesn't matter if you were a Reds fan or not. Look at that. Everyone was happy for Henry Aaron. Hit number 714. It looks like opening day is moving kind of slow. But, man, what a great time. If you're an older cat like me, or if you were lucky enough to be around during that Big Red Machine era, I know you can feel it, and I know you feel it. I feel it. You feel it. Now we feel it together. What a great memory. Looking forward to the 2026 season. Everybody have a good day.